and all the assembled Vaishnavas, that I may say a few words of remembrance to His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Many times we come to functions like this and we wish to hear the glorification of Srila Prabhupada. And people speak, and it basically becomes, very nice, interesting anecdotes about individuals as they related to Srila Prabhupada under the particular circumstances. This evening I'll try as much as possible to keep myself out of it, and that won't be difficult to do because at that time and now I was just a rank and file foot soldier in Srila Prabhupada's army. I wasn't one of the commanders. I wasn't one of the leaders. In about July of 1977, I came to Vrindavan to live. I never had the opportunity to serve Srila Prabhupada directly. I joined in a temple in North America called Buffalo, New York. And after serving there for about 1.5 years, I migrated up to Toronto, Canada. And I served in Canada for 5 years before coming to India. I was a cook, and oftentimes I say that my caste is that I'm a cook. Earlier when I lived here in Vrindavan, and we would cook like big feasts like Srila Prabhupada's Disappearance Day and other huge functions, and I would have to engage the local halawais or the local professional cooks in assisting during the preparation. They would always refer to me as Govinda halawai. So that's my caste. I was the cook. In my old age, I'm a bit lazy now and I don't cook as much as I used to, although I should. So I came here as the cook in 77. Srila Prabhupada had gone to Rishikesh in May due to his ill health. And somewhere around the middle of May, he told his attendants who were with him in Rishikesh, now it is time to go to Vrindavan and die. Although I'm not exactly sure, I can't remember exactly the details, probably His Holiness Srila Krishna Goswami Maharaja was Prabhupada's secretary. And they made arrangements to bring Prabhupada to Vrindavan. And when he reached Vrindavan, the Vrindavan devotees, they were very, very enthusiastic in their reception of Srila Prabhupada, but they didn't know actually what Prabhupada's intent was. He was feeling very bad due to the advance of his disease. He would have his crisis days. His health was going down more and more. I think it would be safe to say that in the last last year of Srila Prabhupada's life, practically he didn't eat. He would drink some. I remember at one point when he was in Vrindavan, he was drinking something called Complan. Sometimes he would drink milk. Sometimes he would have some juice. But very infrequently, Prabhupada would have solid food. And the result of that is that everything on Srila Prabhupada's body was wasting away. He was practically just bone with some skin hanging from the bone. And there was no muscle and there was no flesh. But despite being in that very devastated material situation, Srila Prabhupada's consciousness was always perfect. He was always absolutely clear. He was always absolutely fixed on his goal of spreading the movement of Krishna consciousness, translation of Srimad Bhagavatam, and inspiring devotees throughout the world to carry on with his great mission of delivering the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Srila Prabhupada had received it from his spiritual master. So Prabhupada came in May, and it was a great shock in the Vrindavan community. And I believe at one point, GBC men from around the world, they came over here and they were gathered with Prabhupada. But by the time I had come, in July, Srila Prabhupada was having his up days. And many of the GBCs had been dispatched back to the West so that they could go back and inspire the devotees and carry on with the preaching work. At one point, and at that time, Srila Prabhupada still had enough strength to sit up. I remember many times coming by Srila Prabhupada's garden and looking into Srila Prabhupada's room, and it wasn't just the one bed, which is like it is now, but it was a few of these beds that had big bolsters, and I could look in and I could see Srila Prabhupada sitting there, and he would be sitting and relating to the different devotees. At one point, an idea came to Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada felt that if he really wished to become strong, and if he really wished to become healthy, then he would make one last tour of the Western countries, and he would go and he would preach and he would live in the association of all of his devotees in the West. I think he wanted to go to some of our farm communities. He said, I will go and I will drink the milk from our cows. I will preach. I will hear the reports of Sankirtan, and this will give me strength to live. So, when Prabhupada decided in this way, all of the different arrangements started being made for Srila Prabhupada actually to travel to the West again. And Srila Prabhupada did leave Vrindavan. I'm bad with dates, somebody can correct me, but it was approximately August 28th of 1977 that Srila Prabhupada, he left Vrindavan to go on his Western preaching tour. It was a significant day. It was Sri Rupa Goswami, either Sri Rupa Goswami's appearance day or disappearance day. I was the cook. I would go to Mongol Artik, and then I would go into the kitchen, cook the breakfast, cook the lunch, and at that time, everything in the kitchen that we cooked, we offered that to Krishna and Balaram on the altar. Come back, cook the chapatis, serve the prasad, clean the kitchen, and then in the evening, this kirtan party was going out. Now, the kirtan party was going to Radha Damodar temple for a program. And I remember it was particularly significant because my senior godbrother Madhuvisa Prabhu was there. Madhuvisa Prabhu was one of Srila Prabhupada's earliest own disciples from the West Coast in America. And anyone who has met Madhuvisa Prabhu, you have the experience of what an attractive person he is, and what a charming person he is, and a very charismatic person. And I'd met him in Toronto when he came preaching one time, and I remember him dancing and dancing and dancing in the temple room as he was eating kirtan. But at one point, Madhuvisa Prabhu, he became entangled in the web of the material energy, and he left his sannyas ashram. And he was feeling very bad about that. And at that time, he'd been away. But Srila Satsrup Goswami Maharaja brought Madhuvisa Prabhu to Vrindavan. And he had his reunion with Srila Prabhupada. So that evening when the kirtan was going down to Radha Damodar temple, they asked me to sing the kirtan, but I said, oh no. I turned to Madhuvisa Prabhu and I said, Prabhu, you please sing. So through the streets, down by Banki Bihari, going down to Radha Damodar, Madhuvisa Prabhu was leading such a beautiful kirtan, and we were all chanting and dancing. Then we came to Radha Damodar temple, and there was a function just in the courtyard of the temple. Basically, it was a kirtan function. And I can recall there was a big asana established there. And there were so many old saints of Braja who were sitting there. And kirtan was going, and a lot of the old saints were sitting there, and they were just chanting their beads. We came in, we sat down, we began participating. I saw this big asana, and I was thinking, who is going to sit on that seat? I was thinking, what acharya will come in and sit on that seat? And what happened is there was an individual who was apparently an eminent Babaji of Vrindavan at that time. His name was Kishori Lal Baba. He came in and everybody was waiting for him. But when he came in, he didn't sit on the seat. But what he did is he just began offering his humble obeisances to each and every of the Vaishnavas who were there, including the devotees from ISKCON. And then what he did is he took the Bhagavatam and he placed the Bhagavatam on the big seat. And then the function continued. So then I took Madhuvisa Prabhu aside. And I said, Prabhu, do you mind me asking you a question? And he said, no, not at all. And I said, you went away, but now you've come back, and you met Srila Prabhupada. What did Srila Prabhupada say when he met you? And he looked at me and he said, Srila Prabhupada told me that it doesn't matter what condition in life you're in, but you should be in a situation where you're strong and your senses are strongly engaged in Krishna consciousness and your mind is strongly engaged in Krishna's devotional service. He said, so welcome back and please stay with me forever. And that was the message that Prabhupada gave. So then we were going back to the temple. At that time in Vrindavan, the only place where one could buy flower garlands was the Banki Bihari Bazaar, outside of the Banki Bihari temple. Out here, ISKCON was sort of, it was far away from the city. And people were sort of scared to come out here in the evening time. And there was none of this complex around, and there was no construction anywhere. Basically, from ISKCON, if you looked out, you would just see Lala Babu's mandir on the way to Mathura. It was just empty fields right there. So I stopped and I bought many flower garlands. I think I took 50 rupees with me, and back then 50 rupees was a lot of money. And I bought big stacks of flower garlands, and we came back and we sat outside of Srila Prabhupada's room waiting for that fateful moment when His Divine Grace would be leaving Vrindavan for His last tour. And Srila Prabhupada came out about, maybe about 12:30 in the evening to go for preaching. They carried Srila Prabhupada out of his room on maybe his rocking chair. I don't think they had a palanquin yet, but they carried him on his rocking chair. And I remember all the devotees that I'd passed out these garlands to. We went up and we started putting garlands on Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada had on, it was in the evening, but Prabhupada's eyes were becoming so affected by light that in the evening Srila Prabhupada had sunglasses on. I think Guru Kripa Prabhu had given those sunglasses to Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhupada came out, and he was just looking like a regal king who was again going out to conquer the world. And we all put garlands on Prabhupada, and we all bowed down to Srila Prabhupada. And the rocking chair, they carried Prabhupada up to the front of the temple, and kirtan was going. And Srila Prabhupada got inside of, I think it was a Mercedes-Benz, to go on his last preaching tour. He was determined to go and preach. Srila Prabhupada was so weak he couldn't sit in the back of that car. They had a bed made, and Srila Prabhupada had to lay down on the bed because he was so weak. But this was the determined spirit that he had to serve the order of his spiritual master and to serve the Vaishnavas of ISKCON. He got in his car, and there was really nothing outside there. Just a dirt road that had lots of holes in it, filled with rainwater. And Srila Prabhupada just rode into the night, and we all fell down on the ground, and we were all crying because we were thinking, we'll never see him alive again. Srila Prabhupada made it as far as London, When he got to London, his health really started spiraling down. And I'm not sure how long he stayed in London, but the decision was made that he would again return to India. And when he returned to India, he flew to Bombay. At that time, Srila Prabhupada's quarters, his new quarters, which we see now when we go to Bombay Juhu, those quarters were not finished, but Srila Prabhupada is very adamant, I want to stay in my quarters. I think that maybe it was just concrete floor, perhaps stone was not even put down yet, or perhaps windows were not even put in yet. He was there on a bed with mosquito nets. They served
the windows were in and the stone was down there, but his room wasn't finished.
Okay.
We spent the whole night putting covers on the cushions and everything.
Okay.
Waiting for him to come.
So Prabhupada came to Bombay.
He stayed in the servants' quarters because that room was finished.
Okay. That was in April? He came back in when? Pardon me?
He came back from London in September.
In September.
All his quarters were finished by now.
Okay. All right. So Srila Prabhupada stayed there, and his health situation was not good. And we devotees in Vrindavan, we were always wondering, what is the situation with Srila Prabhupada? What is the situation? And we heard that, you know, everybody was, sort of people had their interests. Like Srila Jayapataka Sai Maharaj and Bhavananda Prabhu, they were saying, come to Mayapur. And others were saying, stay in Bombay. Stay here and, you know, inspire us. We will get the temple finished. We'll get the temple open before you'll go. One of my nice godbrothers named Kuladri Prabhu from America, he was there. And he told me how basically every day the big devotees, they would come and they would be with Prabhupada and they would be discussing the different variants. And someone would be saying, go to Mayapur. Someone would be saying, stay in Mumbai. And Kuladri Prabhu, he told me that one day he became very bold and he said something. And he said, and Prabhupada, when these discussions would be going on, Prabhupada would be simply laying there silent and listening to the discussions. And one day Kuladri Prabhu said he took courage and he spoke. And he said, if Srila Prabhupada has come back to India to give up his body, then the best place for Srila Prabhupada to be would be to go to Vrindavan. And he said that when he said that, Prabhupada said, yes, this is a first-class idea. So at that time, the arrangements were made to transport Prabhupada from Mumbai to Vrindavan. Harishar Prabhu, what day did they arrive in Vrindavan?
September the 30th, that evening, Prabhupada called in about 8 or 9 senior men and asked us individually, should we stay in Bombay or should he go to Vrindavan? So each one, at the time, Krishna, Pandra, Gopal Krishna Maharaj, Abhiram, myself, and a few others. So the majority decision was that he should go back to Vrindavan. Actually, when I was asked, I made a decision.
Why don't you come up here, Harishar Prabhu? Somebody arrange a microphone. Somebody help Harishar Prabhu get his chair over here and get him a microphone, because he knows all. He was serving to Srila Prabhupada. Bring his chair, please. Some brahmachari, bring his chair over here. here. No, it's not my show, it's Prabhupada's show.
The marble was and the construction crew. So Prabhupada, whilst he was lying down,
Let me die while I am in fit condition. And after that, he thanked all the devotees for bringing him back to Vrindavan. And it seems to me that he gave a lot of special thanks to His Holiness Tamal Krishna Maharaj for having brought him back. He said, only Tamal could have done this to get me back here live. So basically, as Hari Shori Prabhu explained, that was 1st or 2nd October? 2nd of October. And at that time, something very, very amazing began in Vrindavan. And it was like, for those people from the West, all over the world, you go to the amusement park, and in the amusement park they always have one ride. When we were children we called them roller coasters, but I don't know what they call them now, but it's the ride that it will take you very, very high to a peak, and then it will drop very fast. And it will go down, and then it will come back to a very high peak, and it will drop and it will go down again. And that was the emotional mood while Srila Prabhupada was spending his final days here in Vrindavan. It was one day soaring very, very high with the hope, yes, our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, our Father, the person who means more to us than our very life, Srila Prabhupada will remain with us, and then in the next second, shoo, it was just as if Prabhupada were going to leave at any time. And there are many instances like that, and I could just try to recall a few of those instances. And since Hari Shori Prabhu is here, and since he was serving intimately, then Hari Shori Prabhu could help me, because
Hare Krishna Maharaj Dhanal Pranam. So we would like to continue with the glorification session of His Holiness Bhakti Prema Govinda Maharaj. So I would share the PPT first. So about His Holiness Bhakti Prema Govinda Swami Maharaj. About the early life and initiation. So Maharaj joined the Krishna consciousness movement in Buffalo, that's in New York State, in 1971. So prior to this, Maharaj's name was Gary Stevenson. He was born on December 14th, 1953 in Cleveland, United States of America. And in the early days, like before joining to Krishna consciousness, he was drawn to spirituality in his very early youth and began searching for higher purpose beyond material life. So this was about him before meeting to Srila Prabhupada. So let's go about how he met Srila Prabhupada. His meeting with Srila Prabhupada was a very unique experience, as it shared that. So initially when he joined ISKCON, he was appointed service as a cook in ISKCON Buffalo and Toronto. So his services in ISKCON temples worldwide. He moved to Vrindavan in 1977, and between 1979 to 1987, he served in various ISKCON centers across Greece, Israel, Italy, France, and he returned to Vrindavan in 1987. So I would like to say one thing about his in early 80s. So he moved to Europe and became involved in preaching in temple services in Scandinavian nations and Soviet Union during its final communist phase. And after 1990s, he was he was based in Vrindavan, but apart from ISKCON Vrindavan, he also served in various temple projects like ISKCON Ukraine, ISKCON Kazakhstan, and places like that. So regarding establishing Food for Life in Vrindavan, so Maharaj was the pioneer who founded the Food for Life program distribution in 1987. And he aimed to provide prasadam distributions to the local Vrajavasis, local communities across Vrindavan, Mathura, and the 84 crores of Vraj. And he actively promoted devotional compassion through service. So before his sannyas, he was preaching in Kazakhstan and Ukraine and got initiated in, actually he started giving initiations in 1992, and he had accepted, actually it's vice versa. He got initiation in 93, in 92, and became a spiritual master in 93. And he has initiated many disciples throughout the countries like Russia, Baltic states, and Eastern Europe. And Maharaj also served as GBC for various countries like Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Lithuania, Latvia, Ireland, and others. So just about the service, so we have distributed into various sects like the temple service from 1971 to 1987. So Maharaj served as a cook and pujari in ISKCON Buffalo and Toronto, and served in ISKCON temples in Greece, Italy, and France. And he was deeply committed to daily deity worship and temple operations. Now coming about the Vrindavan projects. So he returned to Vrindavan in 1987, and he founded Food for Life in Vrindavan, and basically providing prasadam to every needy Vrajvasis across the Vraj. And he later expanded this to education and healthcare programs for the children around the Vraj. About his GBC and global outreach, he was a GBC member since 2000, Zonal Secretary for Bulgaristan, CIS, Iran, Lebanon, Syria, and co-zonal secretary for Mauritius, Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan. All these nations where Krishna consciousness is very difficult to promote, Maharaj has been extensively preaching in this, even in Middle East countries where it's totally openly banned to preach Hinduism. Maharaj has been going to such countries and preaching Krishna consciousness. And he focuses on developing Krishna conscious communities in remote and undeserved regions. So now coming upon the main highlight, kirtan and cultural influence. Maharaj is very powerfully known for his ecstatic kirtan, his sweet melodious kirtan. It ranks from sweet melodious to ecstatically powerful kirtans. And Maharaj encourages deep, joyful participation in congregation chanting, regularly features in international kirtan festivals like Kirtan Mela, Radha Desh Melos, Baltic Festival, then Sadhu Sangha, etc. So actually, Maharaj is known specifically for his meditative kirtans, like the kirtans which are melodious but also meditative for uh, rejoicing our soul in Krishna consciousness. So he was one of the initial pioneers who got this global kirtan revolution within ISKCON. So, and often we have seen like Maharaj mostly is present in kirtan melas across the world. And it's a very unique experience listening to Maharaj. And apart from this, Maharaj has been releasing many kirtan albums in various platforms like Spotify, SoundCloud. So if you want to hear kirtans of Maharaj, we can follow him. He's an amazing kirtaniya. His ongoing legacy. So Maharaj continues to travel globally, mostly because of the Kirtan festival which Maharaj hosts in most of the countries. And Maharaj inspires everyone with lectures, kirtans, and festivals. and guide devotees with deep wisdom and affection. And he's a living example of dedication to Srila Prabhupada's mission. So I would like to add some more points. So focusing on the personal qualities of Maharaj, uh, like you might have seen Maharaj in person, if you might have seen, or in the video you have seen, Maharaj is a very strong build. Like he looks like a very strong person, and still date, like he is more than 75 years old, but still that enthusiasm and that strength in Krishna consciousness brings life to his like personality. So apart from being so like such a heavy personality, Maharaj is still very gentle and affectionate. So I have been uh, blessed to have some association of Maharaj, and Maharaj is very, very humble and very, it's a fatherly affection, and very humble, fatherly affection, and it's also jolly mood together with Maharaj. And even after having such an affectionate and jolly mood, Maharaj is spiritually very deep. He lives a very renounced life and austere life in Vrindavan. He resides just beside the Krishna Balram temple, uh, Radharaman Bagicha, and is fully absorbed in holy name and services. Like when Maharaj resides in Vrindavan, it's one of his schedule to invite devotees to his house for kirtan. And many devotees, even today, if you go in Kartik month to Vrindavan, you will be hearing that kirtan is hosted at Maharaj's place in evening at 7 to 8 o'clock. So devotees can go relish the kirtan. Then Maharaj would address the devotees. And he's very humble. He serves various devotees, ISKCON devotees and devotees across the Vraj. And Maharaj is very strong preacher. Apart from the uh, Kirtani aspect, Maharaj is a very strong preacher. Despite his soft demeanor, his classes are rich with shastric depth, practical guidance, and humor. So Maharaj is, most of the lectures which I have heard about Maharaj, Maharaj is very focused about Chaitanya Charitamrita. So there are various lectures you can see online and offline, which Maharaj specifically gives on Chaitanya Charitamrita. And the best part is inspiring to youth. So Maharaj is very youth friendly. Like devotees can easily approach Maharaj, especially the youth. He will be happy to have youth around him. So he has inspired a very large number of youth across the world, especially through his kirtans. And various devotees are just attracted to his kirtans and get joined to Krishna consciousness just by hearing him. So actually, how he joined ISKCON, there was an article which I read about it. So in 1971, he came across Bhagavad Gita as it is by Srila Prabhupada. And it was the very first Indian cultural book which he read. And he was very deeply touched through the Bhagavad Gita as it is. The clarity, purity, and logic of Prabhupada's commentary uh, was really touching that he felt. And thus, in a lecture, I heard that Maharaj described that scenario as a spiritual explosion. He described that the books written by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada are a spiritual explosion. And that explosion was so big that it covered the whole world. So we can see how Srila Prabhupada's books are amazing, that it could give a whole world the shock of Krishna consciousness. And then later on, after reading Bhagavad Gita, realizing the commentary, getting enlightened and astonished, he met devotees in Chicago. And thus, in a very short amount of time, he gave up his personal comforts and decided to join the ashram full time. So initially, he was in uh, Chicago temple, and he joined. And the early services he used to do was cleaning floors, cooking, distributing books, going for street harinams. And this was how he started. And then in mid-70s, he got initiated by Srila Prabhupada, and his name was given Govinda Das. So we know his name is Bhakti Bhringa Govinda Swami Maharaj. So his initial name was Govinda Das. So I would like to read Srila Bhakti Bhringa Govinda Swami Maharaj, remember Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada spoke, and then Prabhupada went to the airport. We all went to the airport with Prabhupada, and I decided I had to get close to Prabhupada and I had to get a glimpse or something from Prabhupada. So many devotees were there, and Prabhupada was walking through the corridors up to the lounge where he would take his flight from. I remember I pushed my way through the devotees and I came right up next to Prabhupada, and I was thinking, now here I am, the most fortunate person in the world. I am walking next to Prabhupada. And I remember, just so casually, he turned and looked at me, and he just gave me this look that turned me into dust. It wasn't any special effort for him, but he just looked at me, and the way he looked at me, it made me realize that I was really nothing. Then something interesting happened. This one more non-devotee gentleman, he pushed his way right through the crowd and he pushed himself right up in front of Prabhupada. More or less, he just stood right in Prabhupada's path and he looked up and he said, Swami, I have got a question for you. Prabhupada smiled very charmingly and he said, what's your question? The man said, if I were to give you $1 million right now, what would you do? Prabhupada smiled and said, oh, that's a very easy question. He said, I would print books and I would build beautiful temples for Krishna. Then the man just said, thank you very much, Swami. He turned and he walked off. So this was one of the realizations that Maharaj shares about Srila Prabhupada. So apart from this uh, basic glorification which we have heard about Maharaj, there are various albums in YouTube and everywhere which Maharaj has done with kirtans. So it was one of the legendary kirtans which I had heard His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami Guru Maharaj was sharing about. In ISKCON, we didn't have any orchestral kirtans. So Maharaj released an album in early 2000. I don't know the exact year. It was somewhere in Russia, and that album was very famous because Maharaj had done kirtan with around 41 musical instruments. So that album is still on internet, and it was named as Vrindavan Mellows and Yamuna, something like that. So there were two kirtans which were specifically recorded. If anyone wants to see that, they can have that on YouTube. So we have such an amazing spiritual personalities with us who have been inspiring through their personal example, their legendary services, their deep affection towards Srila Prabhupada, how he joined through only one book, that's Bhagavad Gita. He read that Bhagavad Gita once and he was like, this is what I want. And he joined ISKCON in very short span. So we have all these examples with us who have been teaching us 24/7 through their personal examples, through their personal insights and whatnot. So praying to all of the devotees that whatever I have spoke, may I acquire some qualities out of Maharaja's glorious character and imbibe in my spiritual life. Thank you very much for attending. Hare Krishna. Jai His Holiness Bhakti Bhringa Govinda Swami Maharaj ki Jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol.